In my last video, I spoke a lot about the benefits of having this ability to see something through to the end, because that's where the big results are. And today, I want to talk about how we decide what we commit to and what we shouldn't. Watch this video to learn more. High performers and those people that achieve big successes understand that it takes a long period of time to really make these rewards come to fruition. But with that in mind, that means that we have to be very, very careful about what we choose to commit to. We simply don't have the time or the resource to commit to so many things at once. We have to be very, very selective about what we choose to focus on and what we choose to ignore. One way to make sure that we make better decisions about this is to use what I call the 1 week rule. So to describe what this 1 week rule is, let me give you an example. Let's say you're on holiday in Italy, you're in a restaurant and you don't speak a word of Italian, right? You're there with your friend and your friend orders your meal for you in fluent Italian and is able to have this amazingly fluent conversation with the waiter there and orders all your food. And you look at your friend in awe. You're like, that's amazing. He can speak fluent Italian. In that moment, you start thinking about how amazing it would be if you could speak Italian. You could talk to the local people, you could order your own food, you'd have a much greater experience of the Italian culture. And you start romanticizing this idea of how amazing it would be to speak Italian. So in this mist of excitement, you get this overwhelming sense of motivation and you think, you know what, I'm going to learn Italian. That's what I'm going to do. So then of course you know what happens. You're back home, it's Wednesday night, it's raining outside, it's very cold, you're no longer in Italy, and you're at your desk reciting the same Italian passage for the 15th time. And then reality sets in. You're like, you know what, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And you quit. So what happened here? You got suckered in by this romantic vision of being able to speak Italian, but you didn't really think about whether that's really for you. You didn't really think about what it actually takes to become fluent in Italian. And of course, therefore, this is just another project that ends up in your graveyard of projects and you quit and you don't get the benefits that you wanted. That time could have been better spent on something that would have brought you much more longer lasting benefits and a bigger result, something that really made sense for you. So how else could we handle this? Or let's run through the story again. So you're in the same Italian restaurant and your friend orders and you still think it would be amazing to learn Italian. You still have this kind of romantic idea of what it would be like to be a fluent Italian speaker. But you kind of catch it in the moment. You don't get carried away by it. You think, okay, that's a period of excitement here. I'm feeling pretty good about this. I'm motivated, but what does it actually really take to learn Italian? I tell you what, I'm going to give it 1 week to figure out if this is for me or not. So you don't just jump straight in head first without really giving it some thought. And in that 1 week, you think about, okay, how long does it really take to learn a language? And you do a bit of research about that. And you can kind of figure out that, okay, it's probably going to be a year thing or at least 2 years or something like that for you to get to a good level of Italian, the kind of level that you want to get at. And for those 2 years, what's your hourly commitment going to look like? I mean, do you have to do 7 hours a week or 14 hours a week? Can you afford to do that? What happens if you spend all this time and you don't really get very good at Italian? How would you feel about that? Is there ways that you can make that less of a problem or you can minimize what failure looks like? Does this learning Italian project fit into like a bigger picture of my life, of what's important to me, of where I want to be in 2 years and 5 years? Does this really make sense in a strategic point of view? And essentially what you're doing here in this week is just building up this cost-benefit analysis, kind of like the analysis that a company would do if they're thinking about launching an initiative or launching a new project or something like that. Think about what's this going to cost, what's it going to take, and are the benefits worth it? And at the end of the week, you can choose. Are you going to study Italian or not? So here, you've only taken a week, right? It's not like you spent an inordinate amount of time thinking about this. But you spent a week just removing yourself from your excitement and you've just done a basic level of research and understanding of the situation in order to make a better decision about whether you're going to commit to this or not, whether it's right for you. By just separating yourself from that emotion and not just diving in because you're excited about something, you give yourself a much greater chance of making a good decision, and making a decision that you will commit to for the long term and therefore are more likely to get the benefits from. So let's run through a few examples of this. Let's say you're in a salsa club, you see amazing salsa dancer dancing with all the women and you think, you know what, that's a great idea, I'm going to do that. Well, yes, you get excited about it, but realize that to get to that point, you're going to be stepping on a lot of feet. You're going to be doing a lot of embarrassing dance moves. You're probably going to spend the first 2 months of joining a salsa club and you're probably going to find it really awkward, really difficult, and you're not going to be very good. Are you willing to go through that process? Or let's say you want to start a business. You see all these amazing businesses around you and you think, oh, I'd really like to own one of those. Okay, that's great, but understand that in order to create something of value that the world is going to pay you for, that's probably going to take you a year. If you look into the statistics of how long it takes for a business to be profitable, you'll realize that it's going to be hard work. You realize that you're probably not going to be able to do much else in that first year. It's probably going to consume all your time and energy, and you may not get any results for at least 12 or 18 months. Or maybe you want to run a marathon because you watched the London Marathon and you think that would be a great experience. Absolutely, it would be a great experience, but then realize in that week of decision making that, oh, okay, so I have to start training in October for a race that's going to happen in April. It's probably going to be really cold, it's probably going to be really wet, I might have a few niggling injuries, I'm also going to have to buy some equipment, and I'm going to have to raise £1,000 for charity just to even enter. What I'm really saying here in a bit of a tongue-in-cheek way is that it's great to have these things that we want to chase, it's great to have these goals we want to achieve, but just mindlessly jumping in without really just taking a little bit of time to do our due diligence, we're really setting ourselves up for failure. And this is especially true if you're somebody who doesn't tend to see things through to the end. So I really want to be clear about something. What I'm talking about is not about you have to know everything about everything before you commit to something. This is probably even worse because this is a recipe for procrastination. You try and get the answers to everything, but no, that's not really possible. All I'm saying is just take a week to separate yourself from the emotion, the excitement of a new idea that's cropped up in your head that can potentially blind yourself to the realities of this situation, and just do your basic due diligence. Just figure out at a high level, is this right for you really? One of the most common pieces of advice we all see is just get started. And I think this can be very useful for somebody who is, let's say, a chronic procrastinator or gets caught in the details and ends up never starting anything. That can be really good advice for them. But for you, for somebody who's identified that actually you're not getting the results, you're not getting the benefits because you're quitting too soon, I think it needs to be flipped on its head. For you, it's dangerous to just get started. It's dangerous to jump into something without fully considering the ramifications, because you know you have to make better decisions about what you start. You know that you keep jumping from project to project and you're not really giving it that conscious thought about what is right for you. I think Cal Newport, the author of So Good They Can't Ignore You, sums this up really well. Let me just read one of his quotes. If you translate every burst of enthusiasm into action, you're going to waste time. More dangerous, you're going to hobble your chances of succeeding in any pursuit. So in short, if you're somebody who doesn't often follow through on stuff, put a little bit more emphasis, put a little bit more effort on that decision-making process up front. And I think that will really help you make sure you see the course through in the long run. So in summary, one of the most important skills that helps us see something through is having a better decision-making process about what we decide to commit to and what we decide to not spend our time on. Be really careful about making decisions when you're excited about something, when you're being romanticized about this vision of how great it would be. And take 1 week. Just take 1 week to figure out whether this is really right for you. Do a cost-benefit analysis. And at the end of that, if you think it stacks up for you, then go for it. This will give you a greater chance of making better decisions about what you commit to, and in turn, you'll be way more likely to just see it through and get the results and the benefits out the other end. Hope you liked this video. If you did, like my video, subscribe to the channel. Got some more videos about seeing things through to the end coming up, so watch out for those, and I'll see you again shortly.